Welcome home, where we provide information, inspiration, and motivator after motivator after motivator here on America's Next. Today will be a variety show featuring me, giving you guys some information on myself. We're just going to have a conversation today. I'm looking forward to you guys tuning in and letting me know your perspectives on the things that I'm going to cover today. But every now and then, it's time for us to just have a conversation, just you and I. For you to get to know your host, for you to get to know who you're listening to, where I'm going, and where I've been. For those of you who might not know, I spent years of my life in the foster care system. I'm originally from Ohio, and foster care for me was a varied experience. I had a variety of different experiences in foster care, and they all kind of molded me into the person that I am today. What caused me to go into foster care was that there was some dysfunction in my family, the same way that there may be dysfunction in your family. Maybe there is no dysfunction in your family. But for me, being born in the 80s, 88 specifically, shout out to all my 80s babies out there. I was born in an era where people were dealing with drugs. People were dealing with alcohol. People were dealing with, old fashioned versus new fashion. And so it's right there at that intersection of eras that I was born. Very interesting time for me. And I remember one night we had company, and this guy, his name was Ike. I'll never forget. Ike, he came up the stairs to use the bathroom, and my room was right next to the bathroom, so he had to walk through my room to get to the bathroom. Then it was my first day meeting Ike. I really didn't know him. And he came through, he went to the bathroom, and as he left out of my room, he had a circular metallic donut. A circular metallic donut. And he pulled it off and he slapped it right on the wall next to the light switch. And he said, "That's all you need to know about life." And he just went downstairs. Ike wasn't really around after that. I never really got to know him. He didn't become a significant person in my life. But I never forgot the fact that he put that circular metallic donut on the wall and told me that that was all I needed to know about life. So that brings me to my premise today. Have you reflected on your circle of life? Think about that. I think everything happens in our lives for a reason. I'll look at my life in retrospect and say that all things happen for a reason. But it's little nuanced things like that that I was always thinking about no matter what happened in my life. Reflect on the circle of life. When I got placed in foster care for the first time, myself and my sisters, my two youngest brothers, they weren't born yet. We went to live with a family who, they were old-fashioned and cooking old-fashioned meals. I'm talking about whole potatoes and chitlins and canned spinach. And I didn't want to eat that. When we sat in the living room, everybody had to be in a different area of the living room so that we weren't too close. When we went to sleep, everybody had to be sectioned off. It was different than what I was used to. And it made me reflect on the circle of life. When I came back home to live with my grandmother, shortly after, my mother came, she banged on the door, she marched inside, and she said, my kids went into foster care while they were under your parental guidance. So what's the difference between you and I now? I want my kids back. We went to live with my mother for the first time when I was about 6 years old. My mom didn't know that I put that metallic circle on my wall. And I'm reflecting on the circle of life. What does it mean? So I was a deeply reflective person when I was younger. I would climb the tree, figure out what type of fruit was growing in that tree, whether it be a plum tree, a pear tree, cherry tree, apple tree, an orange tree. Sit there and think. What is the circle of life? My mother, in her confidence, ended up having some struggles raising myself and my younger sisters. And at this time, she had two younger brothers as mine as well. Wasn't easy. We were going to a church 2 or 3 times a week. My mother was working 2 jobs. And I literally watched my mother try to do it by herself. But it was a big struggle for her. Meanwhile, me and my brothers and sisters, we're going outside every day, exploring the neighborhood. I'm out there figuring out which plants are edible and which plants aren't edible. That's how much time we had. I can go outside right now and tell you this plant is edible. You can eat the stem of that plant. You can eat this berry. That one's poisonous. I don't know who taught me. Maybe it was the circle of life. Eventually, we moved into a deacon's house. This deacon, he was a truck driver, and he had given my mother the keys to his house. This truck driver came home one day, and me, my brothers and sisters were sitting on his couch. Brother Greg, he had a choice at that moment to say, hey, I didn't know you guys were going to be here, and kick us out. But he didn't. Brother Greg said, listen, whatever the circumstance is, y'all can stay here. So we stayed there with Brother Greg. And we listened and we watched. Me specifically, I watched everything Brother Greg did. He would take me to ride on the trucks with him, 18-wheeler, show me how they worked a little bit. Hey, did you know that these 18-wheelers out here, they have beds in them? Some of them have bunk beds in them. Some of them have microwaves and showers in them. So I'm thinking about how people are, living lives as adults. There's a whole world out there called trucking. I probably should get a truck driver on the show at some point. But truckers, they run the roads. You might be a car or a pickup truck out there on the freeway, thinking that that's your lane. The whole freeway, the whole throughway is the domain of the 18-wheeler. If you ever really pay attention, you'll notice there's a lot of 18-wheelers out there. There's a lot of trucks out there. All the while this is going on, I'm thinking about the circle of life. Ladies and gentlemen, while I'm telling this story, I want you to think about what is the circle of life to you? What are the ironies? What are the cycles that you should be reflecting on in your life? What are the patterns? Are there patterns that you should be seeing in your life? I'm reflecting on this circle, this metallic circle that this man slapped on my wall, and I never seen him again. And that became an analytical lens for me throughout the rest of my life. Why did he tell me that circle of reflection was all I needed to know about life? And so now I bring it to you. Is life about a circle, a cycle of reflection? They say hindsight is 20/20. Of course, there's so many different ways I can go with this analysis. Hopefully, you're starting to see why I began to use that circle of reflection throughout the course of my life. It was very applicable. The more I thought about it, the more things I realized. So I learned a lot from Brother Greg. And eventually, my brothers and sisters, myself, we all moved into a condemned home. Now, when I say a condemned home, I'm not talking about anything that you could possibly imagine right now. Because we built a life inside of that condemned home. When we first got there was electricity. There was no furniture. We had a kitchen table, a circular kitchen table. We sat at that table and we ate shake and bake and Kraft blue box macaroni and cheese and looked around this circular table, looked at each other in a circular fashion, and appreciated the mere opportunity for us to eat dinner at our own circular dining room table. Yet again, the circle's popping up. And so our life was very interesting here. It was interesting because we were growing up outside. It was interesting because the neighborhood, good morning, Uncle Calvin. It was interesting because the neighborhood was inside of our house and our house was open to the neighborhood. So I would go outside, make friends. We would go down to the grocery store and get those wooden pallets. I don't know if you guys ever noticed the wooden pallets. If you've ever seen somebody drive a forklift, they use wooden pallets to lift and to carry merchandise around the warehouse. My friends and I, we used to get about 7 or 8 of those wooden pallets, and we would make a clubhouse out of them. We would build rectangles out of them. Treat it like our little house outside of a house. Then we go get a couple big wheels, ride around the neighborhood. During school hours, y'all, we grew up outside. We would take our big wheels, me personally, go to the grocery store, park my big wheel outside. I'm parking a big wheel, y'all. I'm 7 years old. My thought is I'm going to figure out how to make some money today. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, we're solo today. We're talking about the circle of life. But I would ask people if I could help them with their grocery bags, and they would usually give me a few dollars. And this became a routine for me. When I could wake up on time, get my stuff together, help my brothers and sisters get their things together, we would go to school. But you only got about 1 minute from the time that the school bus hits the corner to actually get on that school bus. If you're late, you're late. And eventually, we didn't have any electricity. So we're waking up because the bus is coming down the street. That night when we ate blue box macaroni and cheese and shake and bake at that circular table, that was the only time I ever remember having a so-called home-cooked meal. during that era of my life. No other time did we pull up a chair at that circular table to eat dinner as a family again. So this was our reality, the circle of life. Where is it going? Where am I on a circle of life? In those months, I felt like an absolutely invisible person. Nobody saw me. I had a few friends, but in a larger scale of things, in a funny type of way, I felt like I was nobody. The only thing that kept me from feeling like nobody were the stories that my grandmother used to tell me about life, and nuanced incidents like when I came through my room and slapped that metallic circle on my wall. What did it all mean? The only thing that kept me from feeling like I was no one was my imagination. Could you imagine as a young kid just walking around and all you have is your imagination? No proper outfit. I couldn't put together one outfit that made sense. No effective set of school supplies. No stock of books at the house. No refrigerator at the house. I can only imagine, and I have conversations with my younger brothers and sisters about their experience, because I grew to realize, hey, if I'm 7 years old thinking this way and going through this, what did my 6-year-old sister think at the same time? Or my 5-year-old sister think at the same time? Or my 4-year-old brother? Or my 2-year-old brother? What did my 2-year-old brother think was going on at this time? I went to school. When I went to school, I would have some of the most interesting, long-term conversations with my teachers. I'm talking about, hey, Cedric, I want you to go get your lunch and then come back to the class and we're going to have a conversation about life. I had teachers who talked to me for weeks before it got to the point where they were like, you know what, I'm going to file a report or get somebody else involved. Not because I'm telling them all sorts of salacious details about what's going on in my personal life, but because my imagination was so vivid that I was just able to sit there and have a conversation with an adult. I'm literally meditating on the circle of life. What is it? We learned the story of Martin Luther King and Malcolm X in about must have been about the 4th grade. And that night, when I went home, went to sleep, I had a dream that I was there in the hotel room when Martin Luther King was assassinated. I dreamt that. I dreamt that I was there from beginning to end and that I saw that. I never forgot that dream. I'm thinking about the circle of life. Dreams became a way for me to look at my life and for me to look at my future. I hope that you have dreams out there. What do your dreams do for you? What have your dreams done for you? Do dreams teach you about the circle of life? Ladies and gentlemen, we're doing a mental workout today, spending some time thinking out loud. getting to know each other. I wrote a series of articles a few years ago, and when I would write these articles, I would write them without saying anything about my life story, without saying anything about foster care, without saying anything about what happened during my formative years. I just wanted to provide a great concept so that anybody could read it and say, hey, that was a great concept. What the chief editor taught me was that you're not a celebrity. You're not somebody that people are going to listen to just to be listening to. Each and every time you communicate, you need to share your story. Treat people with the respect of knowing that this person has a circle of life that they might be deep in reflection on. People don't know you. It's your responsibility to have enough respect to help people to get to know you. And that's why each and every time I speak, I share my story. A mentor told me recently, a coach rather. I'm into coaches now more than mentors. He said, listen, Cedric, you're not telling your story for you. It's not about you. You tell your story for other people. I want to also pass that along to you today. Tell your story for other people. It's not for you. It's not for your own vindication. It's not for your own upliftment, per se. It's for other people. So dreams became a big part of the circle of life for me. The things that I experienced during the day, they would cycle through my dream. And when I woke up the next day, I would process what happened in that dream. So now, in lieu of me having different parents every 6 months, the person that's doing the most reflecting with me is me. Using my dreams as a way of reflecting on a circle of life. So now let me ask you this. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in, we're having a mental workout today. Is the connection between you and your dream able to be seen as a circle? If you're here and your dream is here, could those two be connected by a circle? The path between you and your dream is potentially a circle of life. Work out with me. What's in that space of the circle of life? Your thoughts, your comments, the things you say. The things you say are the space between you and your dream. So now let's turn the corner. What are you saying to help you manifest your dreams? What I began to do, I began to speak. I began to speak to my brothers and sisters. I was already talking to myself. But I began to speak to my friends. I began to speak to people that I met. Just speak to them. Speak. Don't be an introvert. Don't be so introverted that the moments of explosion, the moments of implosion pass you by. Speak on things. When you speak on things, you subconsciously give other people permission to build with you. Next thing you know, you've got a culture. Once you have a culture, you can create a community. Cultures create communities. So it's important that we communicate. One thing that I learned about communication was that communication, it builds like spiritual muscles. So yeah, it's always the gun show. It's always the gun show. But we got muscles that are a part of our aura that we need to strengthen as well. Have you thought about that? You got other muscles outside of your body that need to be worked out. Have you identified them? Are the muscles that are going unexercised in your life stopping you from manifesting your best life? Think about that. I might be able to run around a track pretty fast. But what if I worked on my quads? Who works on their quads? Would you be able to run faster? What if I worked on my back? Would I be able to run faster? Then get this. What if I worked on my mind? Would I be able to run faster around the track? Yet again, a circle. A circle of life. I appreciate you being here today. I see that the numbers aren't at 0, and I truly appreciate that. Whether there was one person here, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, or just me alone, I will be here for you today. It's important to share your story. Today's message, what's your circle of life? Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you being here. We're not done yet. We're going to take a brief break, and we're going to get right back to it, all right? America's Next Motivator, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. America's Next Motivator, hosted by me, Cedric Riley, and sponsored by the Pride Empowerment Network. And we're back. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just me today, your host, Cedric Riley. We're doing a mental workout. We're having a conversation, and I hope that some of these things that I'm talking about are piquing your interest and piquing your introspection into where you've been as well as where you're going. So we're talking about the actual power of dreams and where they could take a foster kid, somebody who's not in foster care, but they're isolated, or any and everybody else. Now, for me, by the time I by the time I got into foster care for the second time, I I was a very, very, very neural person. I'm a neurological person, but I'm also an extrovert. Got to get out there and have fun in life. Doesn't matter if things aren't going the best for you. You know, when you're a kid, it's just about getting out there, having some fun. I was determined to be hilarious. There's some years of my life where, you know, I had teachers who would say, you know what, Cedric, if you would just pay attention as much as you try to make the class laugh, you'd be all right. I'm in there with some off-brand shoes on, with an off-brand t-shirt on. I got the classroom on fire. On fire. Not focused about any of the struggles of life. And those are some of the most beautiful moments when you just being a kid. For those of you out there who have children, don't forget to let your kids be a kid. Remember how you felt when you got to gallivant, joke around, and go over the top with the funny business. Your kid wants to do that too. The imagination, the soul, the kundalini is on fire, right? But I also was at this point building a case in life. Okay, am I actually just a nobody, or do I just have a whole lot of work to do in order to get somewhere substantial in life? So my perspective starts changing when I start meeting different adults and seeing how they're managing the things that they're managing in their lives. And I met all different types of adults. That was one of the benefits of living in foster care. I met a whole lot of different types of adults. I met people who had their own businesses. They might have still struggled a little bit, but they enjoyed the benefits of having their own business. I met people who worked for other families. I met people who worked for the city. All these people had different levels of stress. They had different outlooks. Dinner was different at their house. Free time was different at their house. Started thinking, listen, the circle of life can manifest in a lot of different ways. I didn't particularly meet anybody during those years that I was in foster care who was doing their passion in life. Now, for me, at this time, I'm deep into rap culture. That's one thing I didn't get to talk about yet on the show, but we will be talking about some rap here one day. I used to want to be a rapper. I used to write raps. I used to rap. Y'all want to hear something? Drop a comment if y'all want to hear something. I'm just playing. Hey, I used to want to rap, though. That was me doing my passion. People said to me, listen, most people that set up to do that, they don't make it. You need to choose another career. I kept rapping. I rapped with my cousin. I rapped with my friend. I kept rapping. I used to want to be a rapper. Interesting fact about me. I moved into a family where I used to get $20 a week for an allowance. And in my mind, I was like rich. $20 a week. I'm like, I'm doing the math. I'm thinking that's almost $100 a month. And I would always walk by these jewelry stores, and the jewelry stores have all this beautiful jewelry inside of the booth in the jewelry store. So I went into the jewelry store one day and I asked the gentleman, and I said, you know, how much would it cost for you to make me my own custom necklace? And he said, you know, we could work something out. You know, the jewelry man always can work something out for you. He said, yeah, we could work something out for you. You know, just let me know what you want to come back. So I went home and I drew this elaborate picture of a platinum and diamond necklace. Yeah, this man told me that the necklace was going to cost $25,000. And I told him, listen, I can pay you $20 at a time. He said, no, that's not going to work. Y'all, by the time I left this man's shop, my platinum and diamond necklace was now cubic zirconium and aluminum. Yeah, no, don't try to hop in here and Sierra talk about let's hear it though, buddy. Nah. Hey, when I get 30, 40, or 50 people in the building, you guys want to hear a rap, I will rap for you, you know. But that was me though, you know, using my imagination, trying to do my passion. Because I'm thinking if if you're going to be somebody in this world that's going to be happy, you're going to have to do your passion. See, one thing I couldn't really abandon, I couldn't abandon my imagination. Remember, it was my imagination that kept me during times of loneliness. It was my imagination that kept me when I was going from one place to another. So it's my imagination that I was going to stick with. But I'm going somewhere with all of this, y'all. Before we left to the break, I was talking about when I was a young man living on Elk Avenue, and a gentleman named Ike was over my house for the day. When he came upstairs to go to the bathroom, he didn't say anything. When he was walking back through my room, out of the bathroom, he put a circular metallic circle on my wall next to the light switch. He said, "This is all you need to know about life." He went downstairs. I never saw him again. I never got to know him. But when he put that circle on my wall, it made me an introspective person about the circle of life. So now fast forward, here I am. I'm in foster care. I'm going to different places, and I'm trying to figure out how to make my life a meaningful thing. My mother, God rest her soul, she passed away while I was in foster care. So we weren't going back home. But this same family that the mother was giving me $20 a week for allowance, they had my sisters around the corner living with her sister. And I wanted to be a part of this family as well. So long story short, I got adopted into this family, and my life changed again. And here's another circle. When I got adopted, this woman was about the same age as my mother was when she passed away. So I have a certain serendipity in the moment there. And I had an opportunity to start again, to get back at the beginning of the circle of life. Now I'm like in a whole new city. Everything's new. The community is new. The dynamics are new. The schools are new. The people are new. Back at the beginning of the circle of life. So I get in here. I start meeting people, all kinds of people, all types of intelligent people, funny people, accomplished people, people with families backing them effectively, big families, big, strong, healthy families. This was a diverse community. This was a time in my life where I got to sit in class with an Indian student, a Vietnamese student, a Chinese student, an African student, a so-called white student. But when you get to know people from other cultures, it's not just a white person. You're in class with somebody whose roots are from Germany. You're in class with somebody whose roots are from mainland Europe. You meet people who might look Caucasian, but they're from South Africa. And so I started opening up my perspective like, hey, I'm not just some black kid. Because guess what? Black breaks down into cultures as well. Whether you're an African American, you're Jamaican, you're Haitian, could be Cuban, could be Dominican. Did you all know that there are Hispanic people who look just like African Americans? That there are Hispanic people who look just like what you would call an African? That there are also Hispanic people who look like what you would call a white person? So I began to realize that a key to success is understanding the true diversity in which you live. It's not all about just being the black guy who's also a rapper. No, it's about seeing yourself on the world stage, realizing the bigger circle of life that we all live in. Which brings me to another important topic that I want to talk to you guys about today. All over the world, people are having differences. People are having cultural differences. People are having human rights differences. And I have a few different perspectives on it. I think that we need an all-encompassing philosophy. And if you think that that's impossible, you're different from me. I believe that an all-empowering philosophy can be had and upheld and upheld. When you look at somebody and you say, this man is ignorant or that woman is ignorant, I want to place a caveat on that today. When you look at a man, you say, this man is rich. You look at a woman and say, that woman is rich, or that woman is smart. That man is smart. I want to place a caveat on that today. I'm going to give you a makeshift graphic. I'm good for makeshift graphics, right? I do that, right? Back at it. America's Next Motivator. Are you kidding me? So here, this is the top. This is where the heart is, and this is also where you consider positivity to be. This is a wave, like an energy wave. Remember, we're talking about the circle of life and the space between you and your dream being a circle. This is the space between you and your dream. Now, this top frequency here, this will be at what we call 100. When we say keep it 100, when we say keeping it real, we're talking about the top of the circle of life, the top of the spectrum. As my grandmother would say, the umpteenth degree. That's what this represents. People are here. Millions of people are here. Black people, white people, Asian people, Caribbean people, Native American people. There's millions of people here. Not just you. But it continues downward, family. It goes downward. These are all the subsequent levels of human consciousness. There's millions of people on each one of these levels. Millions, 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 millions. Yeah. It's your boy Cedric Riley with another makeshift drawing, guys. Don't play with me. Millions of people are down here as well. These are people who have not had the educational exposures to rise above. These are people who might have abandoned their imagination when they were younger because they're living in a third world country. They might have abandoned their heart when they were just a kid because they experienced so much abuse, neglect, and a trauma right here in America. Or they had rich parents who treated them like they were insignificant. They're down here at the bottom. This is the bottom of me, and it's the bottom of you. This bottom portion is also a part of the circle of life. In this area, people act off of what they see. It's also what we consider to be negative. This is the whole world right here on a manila folder, y'all. Everybody's somewhere. They're somewhere between the lowest frequency of the human self and the highest frequency of the human self. So let me ask you something. Why can't we create images of the human self and learn from them? Why can't we? What's stopping us? What's stopping us from saying, hey, before I say that you're nothing and you're nobody and you're ignorant and you're degenerate, how about I just point out that you're spending all your time down here? And through the right experiences, the right exposures, education, knowledge, and wisdom, which you deserve, because you are a part of the circle of life, you can rise up the ranks of these frequencies, family. What's wrong with us doing that? Why is it that when somebody only behaves up here, when they only behave up here at the top, we say, oh, this person is stuck up. This person is acting better than people. This person is holier than thou. Why do we have to treat people like that? Somebody drop a comment and tell me why. Why do we have to act like somebody who's on this frequency of the human self is fixed there? They're not. Maybe they need to be informed that you got to get in tune with the rest of the circle of life. That's all you need to do. It's not always about the high note, the highest key, the highest, being at the top. It's not always about being at the top. If all you're focused on is being at the top, what's going to happen to your middle? What's going to happen to your lower self? And then what's going to happen to the world that you see? Tell me. What happens to the world that you see when you're only focused on the top? Does it diminish? Do you know anybody who felt like they were at the top of life, but they didn't feel undergirded by any of the real resources, being love, stability, compassion, empathy? Were they not undergirded by that faculty? They crash and burn. So, while I never got to know Ike, and I don't look for him, that drunk man stumbled through my room and gave me an absolute key to life. Realize you're participating in the circle of life. You are a circle. The person next to you is a circle. Let's talk about circles real quick. Like I said, y'all, this is a mental workout. I appreciate you being here with me today. I'm back with the makeshift drawings. This is what I do. This is your mother, this is your father, and this is you. This is another important graphic that we need. People need to understand you're not just you alone. You're a combination of your mother and father, no matter how you feel about them. You're a combination. But you're a circle. This is an energy signature here. It's an energy signature. Now, when you make a point of life, when you say, hey, I want more allowance. I don't like school. I wish I had more friends. I wish my life was different. I don't like foster care. I love foster care. I like my life. I don't like my life. Whatever you say, whatever you're doing, it's just a point. It's never the whole case. It's never the whole circle of life. We got to understand. A person is a biometric sphere of life force energy. So we should never do a complete judgment of somebody based off of one point. One point. One infinitesimal point. The circle of life is key. I want you to think about that if you can. Where is the circle of life in minds? Where am I in the circle of life? Have you grown from your lower self to your higher self? Can you scale that spectrum? Can you exist with people who operate at the top of their higher self? Can you exist with people who operate at the bottom of their self? It's all of our responsibility to be able to do that, to be a sliding scale for one another. No, you're not just fixed one way. You're not just fixed to one type of life, one type of mentality. Your real opportunity here is to be a sliding scale. Your real opportunity here is to be a sliding scale between your mother's aspects and your father's aspects. It's not just I'm a woman, so I'm always feminine with a feminine mentality. That's lopsided. It's not I'm a man, so I'm always sharing my father's perspective. It's always a masculine perspective. That's not the case. You've always got to be able to go from your heart to what you see. Your heart to what you see. Respect the circle of life, y'all. Let me ask you something. This has been a mental workout with your host, Cedric Riley. If I go from my eye to my heart, to my brain, to my eye, to my heart, to my brain, would I eventually be like looking like I'm drawing a circle? What if the circle of life was the connection between your heart, your eyes, and your brain? Take it a little bit further. What if once you understand the path between your heart, your eyes, and your brain, that you begin to dream? Understand your faculties. Understand what it means to be a human being. Understand that somebody who is all about what they see out here in the world can make them feel happy and the world can make them feel negative. Understand that that person is oriented about what they see and they need to feel. They need to feel themselves. They need to get more oriented about their heart. Realize that somebody that's always uber passionate, not able to scale out and look at the bigger picture. They need understanding about what they see. Somewhere on the circle, family, the cycle is broken. The circuit is broken. We need to begin to see each other as potentially unclosed circuits. Understand, life is about frequency. I want you to take a moment, do a little research. Understand the frequency of the heart, 428. Look up frequency 428. What does it sound like? Find it in your mind. Listen to the frequency of your heart and your mind. If you do that, family, you'll be closing a circuit. You'll be completing the circle of life. And you'll be on your way to manifesting the dream, the reality that you would like to see take place. Look back on your childhood. Analyze, where were the clues? You have the clues. You have what it takes to succeed. You have what it takes to be somebody in this world. You have what it takes to do something great. You have what it takes to do something that's never been done. You have what it takes to go down in history as a great man or a great woman just by telling your story. Just by telling your story. So today, as with all days, in our round third base, I'm going to answer 3 questions. The first question, what is survival? Survival is living through your parents' story. Survival is living through your parents' story. See, when I talk about living in a condemned house with my family, walking around outside, flipping on a dirty mattress, picking fruits and vegetables, climbing trees, being outside 12 o'clock at night, 6 years old, I'm not talking about my story per se. I'm talking about my mother's story. My mother was having trouble keeping it all together. Survival is living through your parents' story. Now, once you become 18 and you get out into the world and you start gathering your legs and doing things on your own free will, that's your story. You have an opportunity at that point to be successful or not. But here's the catch. In order for you to be successful, you're going to have to complete your circle of life. Complete your circle of life. In order for you to complete your circle of life, you've got to find the chink in it. You've got to find the break in it. There's a break in your circle of life. That break, that dysfunction is going to be an area where you need healing. Go ahead and take 10 years and work on yourself now. Success is not going to come overnight. Ask for help. Yolanda Riley will tell you, I called her and I asked for help. I got uncles out here in the world. They'll tell you, I called and asked for help. People on my friends list right now will tell you, Cedric called me and asked me for help. Thank you to each and every person who helped me out. I remember you. I see you and I love you and I thank you. You helped me to become successful. Greatness is when you evolve because you've completed your cycle. You respect yourself, you respect the world around you, and you give back by teaching other people how to survive and then succeed and then become great. Somebody told me one day, he said, oh man, what you sounds good. You're just saying it sounds good, man. If you could put that in a bottle, you let me know. We can match up and we can sell it and make $1 million. Circle of life. Circle of life. Merchandise coming soon, family. MotivateFosterKids.com. Seminar soundtrack is available there. It's a phenomenal piece. I have artwork being committed right now to create a ultimate graphic motivational experience for youth and families clear across the world. Each and every time you tune in to America's Next Motivator, there's going to be something here for you. All I need for you to do is stop by and pick it up.